Today we're going to talk about the big three that I've been using over the last 6,500 plus miles of my hiking career. Hi, my name is Julianne, also known as Roadrunner. If you're new to this channel, how are you doing? I have thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2022 and the Pacific Crest Trail in 2024, and in 2026 I am going to finish my Triple Crown and hike the Continental Divide Trail. But I am going to talk about my big three and how they haven't really changed over the last 6,500 plus miles. Those miles are accumulated by obviously the AT, the PCT, another half of the AT, the Tahoe Rim Trail, the Foothills Trail, a bunch of different trails. Anyway, so let's get right to it. Also, a little disclaimer, I am not sponsored by any of the brands that I use, as well as I'm here to give you my honest opinion about the product. I'm not somebody who will be able to give you all the specs and all the statistics, so if that's something you're interested in, check out their websites. They usually have some really good information as to how heavy something is, what material, like exact material they're made out of. So today I'm just gonna tell you about why I like the big three that I've been using. So I started out the Appalachian Trail pretty much with a certain type of gear, and I really was pretty lucky that I liked the gear that I chose. I had done a lot of YouTube research, which is maybe what you're doing right now, and I just figured that the Hyperlight mountain gear backpack would be the right choice for me. I didn't know it was gonna be the right choice for me. I was just kind of hoping. So as you can see, we've got a bunch of backpacks here. So in 2022 on the Appalachian Trail, I chose the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Windrider. Ultimately, the big difference here is that they have a different type of pocket. They have mesh pockets, as well as the buckle and the cord is a little bit thicker than in the other packs that I've been using. But, you know, ultimately, that's the gist of it. It's just the main compartment, some pockets, a chest strap, and pocket bags. Now for the 2024 thru hike of the Pacific Crest Trail, I chose still Hyperlight, but the Unbound. Now the reason why I chose the Unbound is because of the pockets. When I do the Windrider, I have a hard time grabbing anything out of the pocket because of just how high the pocket on the side is. And then this particular pocket is lower, but it's kind of wider. And I just really thought that that would help me a lot more. Now I tend to have my water bottle in the front anyway, so I don't really usually need to grab it back here, but I really just fell in love with the pockets and the setup of the Unbound. The Unbound is essentially almost the same as the Hyperlight when it comes to the main compartment. It does have the side pocket, it has the front mesh pocket, and I actually added this cord. What I liked about this mesh pocket is that I have like this other little pocket right here and I can grab from the bottom. So typically I have my rain jacket all the way at the bottom because I don't usually need the rain jacket that often. But then when I do need the rain jacket, it's kind of annoying to grab from the front or the top when you have other stuff in there. So I really enjoyed having that pocket in the bottom and just grabbing my rain jacket out of there. Also, the big difference between the Unbound and the Hyperlight is just it's a thinner kind of cord, and then the hip belt has these two strings versus on the Windrider just has one thick buckle. At first I wasn't sure if I was gonna like the two thin strings, but what's really great for this is it allows you to adjust it based off kind of your body shape. So if you're somebody who is a little bit more curvy, this helps kind of adjust it a little bit more comfortably. So I'm a fan, and obviously I am such a fan that I chose the Unbound for the CDT. Again, as you can see, this is actually the exact same pack, just a little bit more worn for the PCT, and this one is a brand new Hyperlight mountain gear, Unbound, It is the bigger size as in volume. I believe it's 50 or 55 liters. And it is a small size torso. So this is the exact same pack, but I don't know if you can see it right here. As you can see, the Dyneema shrinks. I don't know if you can see it, but I took a picture as well. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Dyneema shrinks, that's just how it works. This is the exact same pack. And I have just found that over the years that that's something to keep in mind when you buy anything that's made out of Dyneema. It will shrink. So what do I like about this pack and why did I choose it? Well, ultimately I like it because it's really light, but it still has a frame-like structure in it. So there's a little aluminum stake on the back of it. And it helps you kind of have a little bit of a frame. So a lot of ultralight backpacks don't have frames. You can get frames, but I just kind of liked that medium there where this is an ultralight backpack, or it's meant to be ultralight, and it still has a sense of some sort of type of framing that kind of makes the back a little bit stronger. That was one of the main reasons why I bought this pack, because it was ultralight, but it still had a sense of framing. What this pack doesn't have is it doesn't have load lifters. So load lifters are usually 2 strings that you have on each side, and it allows you kind of to move the backpack around. I found that I don't need load lifters. I do have another backpack that does have load lifters by a different brand, and I found I never use them. So therefore, I kind of confirmed to myself that I don't really need a pack that needs load lifters. I know exactly how to place this backpack on my hips, and so load lifters are really not needed. I also chose this pack because it's simple. It's main compartment, a few little pockets, and that's it. I like it being simple. I know that you can get backpacks like Ospreys or Duders, and they just have so many pockets. I found that I really don't need a lot of pockets. And over the last 4-ish years and the 6,500 plus miles, I really found a really great way to already pack all of my things, and I don't need a bunch of pockets. I also chose this because of the Dyneema material. Dyneema is light and also it is water resistant. Now keep in mind, I said water resistant. It's not waterproof. I also like this pack because it is seam sealed in most spots with the exception to the bottom. Okay, so a lot of ultralight backpacks do not come seam sealed. I had maybe considered changing my pack to like an Atom packs, but once I researched Atom packs, I found they don't seam seal for you, not even a little bit. And it's all the way from England, and I wanted to stick with something a little bit more American made. So those 2 factors, no seam sealing, not American made, as well as a little bit more expensive, made me not choose the Atom packs and stick with Hyperlite, and I'm happy. I really love Hyperlite. Now do keep in mind, because I know I'll have people tell me Hyperlite is not just American made. I know they outsourced to Mexico as well, but it is American made as well as, or United States manufactured, as well as parts of it is Mexico manufactured. Another reason why I chose this pack is because it comes in white. And some people are like, why would you get a white pack? It gets all dirty. Well, I'm one of those people that likes to see the difference. And I like to see what my backpack has gone through. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I got a new pack for the CDT. Personally, I didn't need a new pack. This pack would have lasted at least another half of the through hike, if not the entire through hike. You really don't need to get a new pack. But I kind of liked that tradition of having one pack for each long trail so that I can eventually maybe hang it somewhere or show it off somewhere where I show you that's the AT pack, that's the PCT pack, and that is my CDT pack. So that's the main reason why I bought another pack, because I like to see the wear and tear of each trail. A note to keep in mind when it comes to water resistant, you still need to use a compactor bag in the inside of this backpack, meaning it's again water resistant, but water will come in somehow because just Like if it rains all day, you're gonna have rain come into your backpack. Sometimes condensation actually happens when it's too hot. And so there will be moisture. So having a compactor bag is really necessary for any kind of backpack. A few things that I wanted to note about this pack or this brand. It is a little bit complicated to kind of see if a pack will work for you or not, especially if you can mostly only order these online. So that was a problem for me. Back in 2022, this pack wasn't offered anywhere else like REI or anything like that. So it was a big risk for me to purchase this pack and it not work. Now you can get the pack, but as soon as you take it out into the wild and it shows wear and tear, Hyperlite Mountain Gear will not accept a return. So one thing that you can do is you can go to REI, order it from REI, and they have that 1 year return policy. So that's a little bit of a way to get around it. But also you can have it sent to REI and try it out at REI. And if it fits, great. If it doesn't fit, you didn't get into a problematic situation of not being able to return it. I do want to say that I am very happy with the company. I haven't used any other product besides the backpack. I know they offer tents, sleeping bags, all kinds of stuff, but the backpack I'm extremely happy with and I will continue to use as long as they stay within the same kind of manufacturing and production. I had a really great experience with the company itself when my pack, the PCT pack, broke halfway through the PCT. This is really bad news. No bueno. So what happened was on my pack, on the PCT, the back became undone, literally undone. And so I glued it, I duct taped it just in the meanwhile, and I contacted Hyperlite Mountain Gear. But before I did that, I had to look at how long it had been since I purchased the pack, and it was over a year ago. I knew they were not going to take it back, even for any sort of manufacturing issues. At least I thought so. However, I contacted them anyway, just to see, hey, by the way, I'm a thru hiker, I'm in the middle of the trail, my pack is literally falling apart. Can you do something? And they honored still the backpack. They said that this was a manufacturing issue. I guess it was known to them, so because of that, they were willing to get me a brand new pack. Now they wanted me to return the other pack to them before sending me the other pack, but I was like, I'm on trail, I'm not able to do that. So they put the trust in me. They mailed the new pack to South Lake Tahoe. I picked it up, I returned the old one, and all was well. I got a brand new pack. So really this pack right here is half of the PCT as well as my long ass section hike of the AT that I did this year in 2025. So that is the backpack that I have been using, or that's the brand I've been using for my entire through hiking journey. I did use a different pack for the Tahoe Rim Trail, but again, that's when I realized I didn't need load lifters. I prefer the Dyneema material, and I just prefer kind of the style that Hyperlite has. So I'm really, really happy with Hyperlite Mountain Gear and the backpacks that they provide. All right, moving on to my shelter. I've been using the same shelter for all of my hikes, just as I did my pack. As I said, I am not sponsored by any of these, and I'm going to tell you my honest opinion about the brand as well as the product. So the tent that I've used for all of my thru hikes is the Z-Packs Duplex, okay? Once again, I've only used the tents. I've never used the backpacks made by Z-Packs or any other product made by Z-Packs. Now, Z-Packs is manufactured in the United States, in Florida, actually, and they kind of have a big following. So if you're a super duper Z-Packs fan, you might not like what I'm about to say. The tent, which is the Duplex Classic, is amazing. But Z-Packs has a very, very significant manufacturing problem, as in they have produced really faulty gear for other things, including some tents. But let me tell you first what I really love about this tent. The Z-Pax Duplex Classic, very important to note, is super light. You can look up the specs, but I think it's about 19 ounces. It's extremely light. It's roomy. I could get something different, like something smaller. The Duplex is supposedly considered to be made for 2 people. I find with 2 people, it gets super, super crowded. I chose the Duplex because it gives me more room. I can put my backpack inside of the tent and I have room and I'm cozy. I also love that this tent is simple. I can set this up so fast and I can do it probably while I'm sleepwalking or in the middle of the night. It is that easy. I love that it uses trekking poles. I'm a big fan of being able to use one gear for multiple things or just making things easier. Being that I'm going to carry trekking poles with me anyway, it's really nice to use the trekking poles to set up the tent. So this tent does not use extra tent poles, but you use the trekking poles as well as tent stakes to set it up. It is made out of Dyneema, so it has kind of the same issues that any other Dyneema product. This is made of kind of like a lot lighter material than my backpack. For obvious reasons, a backpack needs to be more rugged, so it's made out of thicker Dyneema. This is made out of much lighter Dyneema. The bathtub itself is a little bit thicker than the kind of the shell outside. This is my second tent. It has served me well. My first tent lasted the entire AT, the first half of the PCT, and it's just a great tent. My first one started having some problems when it comes to the zipper on the mesh. It started not working anymore. I think that was just because of age, not because of manufacturing or of the quality. I tried to lubricate it while on trail, the actual zipper itself, and that seemed to work sometimes, but I was going into like an area with a lot of mosquitoes, so I was like, okay, I need a new tent. And so I got a new one, same one, the Duplex Classic, and I love it, and it's been with me for a long time. The second half of the PCT, the AT, and it's coming with me on the CDT because it's still in great condition. A few things to note about just in general, this kind of Dyneema, if you stretch it too strongly, it will start getting small little pinholes, especially where the trekking pole is placed to set it up. So try not to really stretch the tent and make the guy lines super taut. Keep it a little bit looser so that way you're not stretching the material and creating pinholes. So it's not really a tent issue. It's kind of like the person who uses it, if they stretch it out, they're gonna cause damage to it. My very first tent, so my first tent, had some holes in it in the bathtub as well as on the shell at the beginning, like about 250 miles into my thru hike. But after that, I never had any problems. Now these holes, as I know, were not really due to me mishandling the tent. They just happened to be there. And so I just kind of patched them up with the Dyneema material that they provide, and it's been great. This tent has had no holes. Again, it's super easy to set up. I love the Z-Pax Duplex. Now, I would stick to the Classic. As I said, Z-Pax has had some major quality issues. When I thru-hiked the AT in 2022, backpacks made by Z-Pax were breaking. The frames were just breaking. They weren't willing to kind of like get you a new pack. They were sending you new frames. The new frames broke and like the hip belts broke. And it just kind of made me aware that Z-Pax kind of has some quality control issues. Now also with the Duplex, I was hiking with somebody else who had just gotten a brand new Z-Pax Duplex with the zipper instead of like the little hooks that you can put in for the vestibules. This person's zipper broke on their very first night out on trail. So would I get any other tent besides the Z-Pax Duplex Classic? Probably not, because I would be extremely worried about the quality of the product. Now, I found this a little bit annoying because Z-Pax actually had a little ad out that they were still made in the US. It was a little bit of a dig at a Hyperlite. It was a long time ago. I think that was like 3 years ago. And I kind of was annoyed by that because Hyperlite makes really, really great products, and Z-Pax, even though it's made in the US, has quality issues. And then of course, You know, once Hyperlite announced that they were outsourcing to Mexico, I'm like, no! But the product has been great. I cannot complain. And obviously the customer service with Hyperlite has been phenomenal. I have heard that Z-Packs has a decent customer service as well in 2022. My hiking partner at the time contacted them all the time. She even had their personal number to get all the Z-Packs products that she wanted. So it seems like Z-Packs does a really great job with customer service as far as what I personally experienced through this other hiker. But then I've also heard other people say that Z-Packs doesn't really do good customer service, and they're not really willing to do any kind of refunds or product replacements. But that's me not really knowing much. I love my tent. I haven't had really a problem with my tents. I've seen other people, so it's not really personal experience, as in like I didn't have a faulty product, but I've noticed all the people around me who have had a faulty product. So Z-Packs Duplex Classic, I'm loving it. One thing to note about the Z-Pack, sometimes people, they wonder, do they need a ground sheet for it? On my AT in 2022, I didn't use a ground sheet, didn't feel like I needed one. But then on the PCT, I added a Tyvek to my gear. And do I think that you need a Tyvek for the Z-Packs Duplex? I don't think you do, but I just have gotten so much benefit out of the Tyvek. It is multi-use. You can use it as a ground sheet, as a sit pad, as like a hiker to town sign. You can use it as a tarp in case you're going to be bombarded with hail or rain. And I actually put this over my backpack as well to give it extra rain protection. Besides, so I put this over my Dyneema backpack, and I have a compactor bag inside. So usually my gear is pretty dry thanks to the Tyvek. And lastly, moving on to my sleep system, which is the third of the big three. It just encompasses a bunch of things such as your quilt as well as your sleeping pads. The sleeping pad that I use is the ThermaRest Neo Air X-Slide NXT, so much in one name, but it is a perfectly fine sleeping pad. It is rated extremely warm for me personally. I love it. There's been maybe one or two occasions where I felt a little bit chilly, but this sleeping pad has kept me so warm in cold nights. I do use a little luxury item, which is this air pump. It's by Flextail. It is about 2 ounces. It says 1.2, but then once you have this little extra thing as well as the battery inside, it's around 2 ounces. But it is a luxury item that I carry to be able to blow up my sleeping pad. You know, blowing it up with your mouth is perfectly fine. No, you're not going to get any mold inside. No, it's not gonna get any heavier. I just did a video about that, and I did a video about it on the PCT, opening it up, looking if there's any mold in it. No. Also, the old rumor that this one is a loud sleeping pad, no more. We cannot continue talking about that. This sleeping pad is perfectly quiet. I do have the old version that I gave to Mountain Goat, and I did notice that that one is a lot louder than the new ones. And so just keep in mind, the yellow sleeping pad is no longer as noisy as a chips bag. Debunked, it's no more, okay? Now, along with the sleeping pad, I use a Gossamer Gear foam pad. It's really light. Once again, look up the statistics. I put it under my sleeping pad. It creates extra warmth and it protects my sleeping pad from puncturing. This is probably my third pad. This pad is a little bit known to have holes in right by the valve. The old valve was better, it didn't have that many problems, but the new valve really does get punctures, and then your sleeping pad deflates. And that's really annoying, especially while you're on trail. So this is my third one. And just keep that in mind that your sleeping pad might get some holes in there. They are known to have that, unfortunately. But I still love it. I do think that this pad still outweighs anything negative, such as maybe getting a hole in it or something like that. Alongside, for extra protection, because I am so particular about keeping my sleeping pad from puncturing, as I already mentioned, I have the Dyneema under my tent, then I have the tent, then I have the Gossamer Gear foam pad, and then I'm putting my pad on top. So I find I do a really good job keeping it from getting punctured. And then finally, my quilt is made by Enlightened Equipment. So I originally had the Revelation, which is an actual quilt. It doesn't have a zipper or anything like that. It has a closed foot box or a foot box with a zipper, but usually the back of it is open. You do have some straps that you can use to kind of tighten it to sleeping pad. So that's obviously a sleeping pad is necessary for a quilt. But I really love the new one that I got, which is the Convert, because it is a sleeping bag that you can convert into a quilt or a blanket. And I just love it. I love Enlightened Equipment. It's a great product. My original one, the Revelation, lasted 2 through hikes. It's still in great shape. Mountain Goat, my hiking partner, uses it, and it just works really well for her. She's cozy and it's clean. Like, I cleaned it one time and it wasn't even dirty. Now I do some things to keep the quilt from getting super funky, which is I change my night clothes to make sure that my day grime isn't on the quilt or inside of the quilt, and I just kind of try to always loft it whenever I'm in town. So whenever I go and do a resupply and I get to town, I take my quilt out immediately. You can ask any of the people that I hike with. That is the first thing that I do. I open up my backpack, I take the quilt out, I loft it immediately. Not everybody does that, and I don't really know why, because you really want to make sure that your quilt is in good condition. This is also the only product that I use down in. They do have these as synthetic. They're a little bit heavier, but I really just love the down. It's also coated with a water kind of protection, so even if you get a little bit water on it, I don't find it's ever soaked through. I've stayed perfectly warm. It's probably one of the, if not the favorite piece of gear of all time. I love my quilt. It keeps me so warm and it just makes me happy. Now, you can get quilts from any company, but the one that I've been using has been Enlightened Equipment. I love it, not sponsored, and those are my big 3 when it comes to my through hiking career, and these are my big 3 that I'll be using for my Continental Divide Trail through hike attempt. Through hike, yes. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. I love having you here. I love sharing my journey, and I hope that you enjoy this information, and I hope it was helpful.